Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says her government could grow the Heritage Trust Fund by up to nearly $500 billion by 2050. But growing the fund is something Albertans have heard before from premiers past.
How we can wean ourselves from using the interest of the Alberta Heritage Savings Trust Fund. And so that is a very good question. And if we want to see that fund grow, we have to keep the interest in the fund.
And this marks the first time in 25 years that Alberta has focused a plan for savings that includes reinvesting in the Heritage Fund.
I truly believe that one of the great mistakes we have made has been to let our commitment to the Heritage Fund lapse, and that is something I will change.
And those are just a few of the clips from premiers promising growth of the Heritage Trust Fund, a fund created in 1976 under Premier Peter Lougheed to collect a portion of Alberta's resource revenue. Here's how it works.
30% of non-renewable resource revenue was supposed to go into this fund, and the idea is to grow it, etc. But successive governments ever since then, like in the 80s, for example, when oil prices fell dramatically, they took out 15% and then eventually came down to zero.
The fund currently sitting at $21.6 billion, according to the government of Alberta.
Several countries, such as Norway and many other oil and gas producing nations around the world, adopted that same strategy and now boast sovereign wealth funds large enough to entirely eliminate their nation's reliance on resource revenues.
Norway's sovereign wealth fund sits at just over $1.5 trillion. Economists say Smith's promise to grow the fund by nearly $500 billion in 26 years can be done, but add one key difference is that Norway's fund is run independently, free from politics.
Just like central banks that are politically independent and their mandate is only inflation targeting, right? So you want to keep that a little bit separate so that it gives a chance for the fund to grow.
Professor Dave says he's waiting for details in the provincial budget to see how the province plans to grow the Heritage Fund, but points to previous governments' track records on growing it, as well as what areas of the budget will see less spending to make up for investments into the fund, saying money has to come from somewhere, and that could include looking at the dreaded PST.
And what we're going to do is create an incentive structure in this province for growth, which generally involves dropping personal income taxes and corporate taxes and shifting the burden onto a provincial sales tax, right? And we're going to keep doing that in order to fund the needs of this province.
The provincial budget will be tabled February 29th. Reporting from Edmonton, Darcy Ropchan, City News.